go. All right, awesome. How's everybody doing tonight, by the way?
Great.
Good. It's good to see wonderful faces here in this audience today. My name is Brandon Burbank, and I'm happy to be here tonight to talk with you guys about some really important topics pertaining to mental health, a little bit more about my story and what I've gone through, which was, the highs and lows of enjoying life and really trying to be successful with one craft. And that craft for me is mental health speaking. And so to start with, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more in synopsis about my story and where I've come from and how I started out, because that's an important part of my life journey. So to start with, I grew up in, let's see here, there we go, let's just get the timer started. I grew up in Bellingham, Whatcom County area, and I had a wonderful childhood with a lot of positive people who were transformative and helping me becoming the best version of myself as a teen. Just a couple of highlights with that success that came from that. Includes winning state championship my junior year of soccer at Whatcom High School. I paid for my first car, $4,500, by working at different odd jobs as well as working at Hagen for a time being. And just a lot of other things that I was always an active teenager and an active kid with different things in my life. And so I'm really thankful for how my parents raised me, and I really have supported them, and how they've been able to be of support throughout the years has been kind of up and down as well, because of the fact that when you become an adult, things change and your life kind of turns all around into different angles, so to speak. So, and then also I got on the table some cards for testimonials at the end. I'll give you guys about a couple minutes to just, if you would like to take, it's optional, but it would be really helpful for me to learn how to get better as a speaker and to help really provide value to the mental health community in this world today. So now I'm going to continue on with this speech conversation today. I'm keeping it open. I went through a lot of challenges with my mental health. So where did that kind of transpire? I'm kind of got to give you guys a little synopsis approach here. I studied abroad after I returned home from studying abroad. That's when things kind of got difficult for me. I was a 19-year-old kid who was just feeling high on life because I raised enough money to study abroad in Barcelona, Spain, and that was a lot of challenges and a lot of adversity that I had faced because of the fact that I was trying to raise this money, but then the problem with what happened to me in my life journey is I returned home from studying abroad. I returned home and I had a lot of challenges with myself. I was going through a lot of things where I was like being not open to different people's opinions, especially my family's opinions, when they're saying that you're isolating and you're not getting enough sleep and you're not doing well in school. So things like that really became so real and prevalent in my life. However, I continued on down that journey, and so I returned home and then like beginning of 2016, and then after that I returned 6 months later in May. I was in my first hospitalization ever. The first hospitalization was in the psych ward, and that was a very traumatizing experience for me because I had never been in that experience in my whole entire life. I mean, I was raised and had different values and different ways of how to approach life, so I had to kind of learn how to accept my realities and ask myself, how can I get better? How can I change? How can I work through these challenges? And boy, this has been a lifelong journey. It's taken me years to get to this point in my life, and I have a lot of personal growth that I've created because of the fact that I didn't give up on my dreams of being a mental health speaker and being somebody who can be an inspiration for others. So back to the 2016 hospitalization. Afterwards, I was in denial for a long time, folks. And what I mean by that is that I was like, what is bipolar disorder? That was my diagnosis, by the way. What is bipolar? Like and I'm just like wondering to myself, I don't think I have it. Maybe it's just a fluke, or maybe it's just not something that's real. But for me, and not everybody agrees with this. I've taken that diagnosis, and based off of my track record of my life and my history of life, I've been able to say that, you know what, this is something that I need to be cognizant about and be aware of for myself to be the best version of myself. So that's what I did. And so throughout the years, though, it took time to get there. For example, in 2017, I was in another major hospitalization. So the year after I was diagnosed for the first time, I was back in the hospital again. And that's how you can see the cycle was very real in my life, and it was very hard. I feel so bad for my younger self because of how much pain I had to go through in order to feel content, and also, but it's when you have a diagnosis, that's something that you have to be aware of. That's something that you have to have a positive attitude despite the challenges that occur with that. And especially that there's, on top of that, you have a lot of stigma with people in this world who don't agree with that diagnosis. Maybe some people don't believe in it. Whatever it might be, it's just a matter of asking yourself, how does change look for you? And then my other pieces of advice for those who are struggling with their mental illness is just asking yourself, does this feel right to you? Because talking with a professional or things like that, I'm all about. And so that's something that it's up to you, though, to decide whether this is helpful for you, or you would want to have another conversation with a doctor or even a therapist to help work through these emotions and these challenges that come with a diagnosis. That's what I'm trying to get at. So let's go back to 2017. Back to 2017, I was in the hospitalization, and then afterwards, for like a couple days later, I ended up moving and living in a place called the Agate Heights facility here in Bellingham through the Whatcom Center. So this was a hard journey as well, very traumatizing. I was a 20-year-old kid who was like trying to figure my life out, but I was like thrown into this environment. I couldn't go back home to my parents, and where it was like my safe place at the time. And so as a result, I went through a lot of trauma again with the challenges that had to do with this experience. This experience was very hard because I was isolated. I didn't have my car at the time for a little while, and I was in an environment where there's a lot of people who have severely mentally illness problems, and I was this kid that still has a lot of youth on my side and still had a lot to go for me. That's the problem. So that's why I had to suffer. But I've been able to overcome these challenges because of the grace of God, and because of the fact that I've been able to ask myself, well, Brandon, you've been through so many challenges with your mental health, but can you get better? Can you get to another place where it's stable and where you have groundedness and support from the right people as well? So that's 2017, and so I was staying in the Agate Heights for about a month. Luckily, an opportunity came to my door, and the opportunity was to go to a mental health treatment center. This is a mental health treatment center in Skyland Trail. It's called Skyland Trail in Atlanta, Georgia. And I went there for a 3-month period, 90 days. I went there to work on my mental health challenges and work on becoming more aware and learning more about mental health and people who are also struggling with the mental health but working through their challenges. So that was a positive thing, but the problem is, even in 2017, I was still kind of in denial about the whole mental illness thing. And so it took me to 2018 to the point to where I could actually start gaining momentum, but I still had to go through another hospitalization in 2018 that was really transformative. But once I hit rock bottom in 2018 in the fall, I realized that I needed to change something for myself. And that's the positive thing, because once you hit rock bottom, guess what? There's only one place to go, and that's up. So as a result, what I started to do, the one thing that's the highlight of this time frame in my life, I went to visit my cousin Clark, who was a football player and a YouTuber in Oregon at the time. He was going to college. As a result, he encouraged me to start my own YouTube channel. And because I was talking to him, I was like off and on, hey cuz, what do you think I should do? Like, I want to be able to serve the mental health community. And as a result, after talking with him and his expertise with YouTube, I created my first YouTube channel called Come Back to Success. And this was a wonderful transformative experience for me. And not long after that, a couple of years later, I published my first book, but we'll get to that later. So as a result, these challenges were so real for me in my journey in my life. And I've asked myself constantly, well, what would you do different? I wouldn't do anything differently because it's made me who I am today, and I'm thankful to have what I have right now in my life. I have a lot going for me, and I'm constantly being more opportunistic about the future, about what things in life have to offer for somebody like me with a bipolar disorder diagnosis. In fact, even with a bipolar disorder diagnosis, I'm starting to think about that as a gift, because of the fact that it's a way to really make a connection with a person. Here's a statistic to keep it real with you all today. According to NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, 1 in 5 adult Americans are living with a mental illness. 1 in 5. So you might know if it's not you that's dealing with mental health, you might know somebody who is struggling with their mental health challenges and needs to get more of a viewpoint to change their life. And change is possible is what I'm here to say, because that's what I'm constantly doing and harping on. As a speaker, I'm here to say, like, hey, I've been through the mud. I've been through the challenges of life, and I've continued to work through these challenges, and I'm not giving up. And that's where my peers, peer-to-peer perspective, can also be a transformative person to help make changes in the lives of other people with a mental illness. So that's 2017, 2018. As a result, as I was, I got through the 2018 hospitalization, which was very severe and very gruesome as well, and long in time. But when I got out of it, the positive things are what transpired because of the work that I put into myself to work on the recovery. There's been so many different recoveries in my life that it's kind of hard to, look back and say, oh yeah, there, and there. But it's like, it's been possible because of the fact that I've been able to work through these challenges alone at times, as well as with supportive people in my life. So but here's the one thing that I wanted that just popped into my head right now. You see me on stage right now. I'm 27, I'm gonna be 28 on Tuesday. You didn't see the challenges that I had to go through by myself, and the time period of these challenges, and the ups and downs, and the ways how I had to communicate with the right people when I was in like a fight or flight mode at times. You're just seeing the best version of me, and so that's why I'm just being able to give you that second opinion to saying that, hey, let's also remember that I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes and along the way, but I've been able to pick myself up off the ground and say that change is possible. And saying to myself, you know what, don't give up, don't quit on yourself. You have so much to be grateful for. And so on that note, the one thing that I've struggled with for many years, and it's getting better, but this is something that I could even still now work on by myself. Finding community. That's the big key component towards what I'm harping on right now at this very moment. The community aspect of my life has been up and down for so long. And partly that's because I've moved so many different times to different locations, different places. I was living in Seattle. I was living in Long Beach, California, living in Bellingham again. So all of these are real things, but I'm still not gonna give myself out of this challenge of mine that I needed to still focus on, because for years I would just be I'd be this guy that loves to talk about mental health and loves to be a transparent person, but I would forget about, hey, it's good to just have fun and be in community with good people. That's the challenge that I had to start learning how to do, and guess what? I'm learning. And it's a proud feeling because of the fact that there's been so many years when I felt alone, when I felt like I didn't have a lot of a support system in my life. So that's kind of where I'm really giving myself a more pat on the back to say that, hey, you know what, we've focused on a problem and we're actually making changes for the better. And although I still struggle with this experience, this idea, it's still, at least I know it, so that way I can make a transformative approach and being around different people when I need to have support, and I have a lot of relationships with good people in my life. So that's we're going to go back to 2018, 2019. with this experiences of my challenges with my mental health, we're going to go to after 2018, and I visited with my cousin Clark. I started to ask myself, well, what's next for me? And so at the time, I was working at Fred Meyer. I worked for Fred Meyer on Lakeway for about 3 years roughly, here while I was living in Bellingham before I moved to Seattle, Washington, or any other place like that. And so what I'm trying to say is this experience of working at Fred Meyer was an opportunistic place because it gave me purpose. It gave me reasons to continue to focus on my challenges and work on my differences of opinion, as well as just my challenges with my mental health, to be more opportunistic about what the future holds in my life. So with 2019, after being in Fred Meyer for a prolonged period of time, I decided to try something new. I stepped myself outside of the box and said, Brandon, what do you need to do right now that's going to help you gain more momentum in yourself and as a change of scenery or a change of opportunity? And that change came with working at a car dealership in Burlington, Washington. I worked at CarMart in Burlington for a couple of months period of times, but because I did that, things started to evolve from there. And that's kind of where I'm harping on with you guys right now, is saying that if you are in a place where you're struggling with your mental health or you don't have a lot of supportive people, maybe trying something new and trying something that's outside of the box that gives you more of a positive change, maybe that's what's going to help you get more of the momentum that you need to do in your life. That's my ask, and that's my question for you, is what are you doing right now that's helping you in your own challenges, if you have any challenges, because I know that we all deal with different things from different standpoints. So this is 2019. I worked for CarMart, but then it was like while I was in CarMart, I knew I wanted to move to, guess what? Los Angeles, California. I wanted to move to Los Angeles, California, and this was a long dream of mine that was very profound because of the fact that I worked hard to get to that point in my life, but I'm not going to get there yet because I was talking I wasn't talking with anybody. I was just like doing my own research and talking with some family that lives in Los Angeles to focus on what was possible, if it was even possible to do that. But while I was working at CarMart, I was able to work on a different job that was a change of scenery, that had a change of my viewpoint on life, so that it helped me grow and gain more marketing skills, because of the fact that when you're talking to different people and trying to get them to buy a certain car or a certain vehicle that matches their needs and goals, that's an important aspect of being a car salesman. As a result, the positive thing that I will say is that I moved to Seattle before I moved to Los Angeles. I moved to Seattle and I lived there for 10 months total, but because of the fact that I was working as a car salesman, I was working as a car salesman, and the fact that I had this experience already under my belt, I had an opportunity to work for Volvo Cars of Seattle in Seattle, and that was when things really started to change, because of the fact that I went through these challenges by myself, and I tried new things, and I wasn't afraid of giving up, or I wasn't afraid of failure, is what I'm trying to say. But so that happened, and then during this time period, though, I'm going to be honest with you, that's when I experienced, like in Seattle, I experienced a lot of lonely days and months and weeks and all the in-betweens when things were really hard for me, but I started to find my passion in spite of this. For example, I was living in Seattle, but I came back to Bellingham to visit Western, their campus, and I spoke with one of the professors who had a lot of encouragement ideas for me. Her name's A.R. Mann, and she gave me a lot of different ideas, and because I told her, hey, I want to make a difference in the lives of mental health people, she said, Brandon, have you thought about writing a book? And that's when the light bulb went off for me. The light bulb went off for me because I said to myself, you know what, I wonder how I could do that. I could start writing right now. And so that's what I did. I was working full-time job at Volvo Car Seattle, and then I worked at QFC for a little bit in Seattle, but all during these challenges and these times, I was working on writing this book and creating something with the blessing of a friend who was really good with editing and revising and things like that. I was able to get it published in Long Beach, California. So my time in Seattle was definitely worthwhile. I learned a lot about myself. I found a lot of transformative people. I met a lot of different people who, who come from different walks of life, and all of these challenges that have made me me. Because I've experienced them. Rather than having other people tell me what to do, I would rather experience that life for myself. So before I continue on, I'm going to ask you, everybody, to pull out the cards and pull out your phone and do a quick testimonial for my Talkadot QR code. And then it's optional. And then we'll do about a 2-minute break, and then I'll finish up the speech. And then just raise your hand when you're done. So I'm going to continue talking for a little bit. I'm just talking about the Whatcom Clubhouse. So this is the facility where we're at right now, the mental health organization that was founded about a year ago. And I'm briefly talking about the Whatcom Clubhouse because this has been a huge source of support for me and coming from somebody with a mental health challenge. And also there's a lot of other people in this audience as well as people who I know who could benefit from the services and what we offer here at the Clubhouse. So to give you a quick synopsis about what the Whatcom Clubhouse is and what we're doing, what we're trying to promote here is we're trying to promote positive healing and recovery for people with a mental health challenge so that they can get back into working into society, whether it be working at a job or working through just finding stability in their life again and being able to work on their relationships and social aspects as well. So all of these are different ways of how the Clubhouse is trying to be a helpful place for people to be in a healthy and safe environment, because a lot of people sometimes with mental health challenges are going through different challenges, and that's why we want them to be competent and as well as safe and stable, because if people are unstable, they're not welcome here because of the fact that there needs to be a stability part for people who can work on their challenges while being in a stable state of mind. So this is the list, this is the board here that, for example, of what we do on a daily work order related day. We have a meeting at 10 a.m. and then we focus on different challenges and how people can be more opportunistic and volunteering for different job tasks. And then over here we have some schedule related stuff that we do here. We do a lot of classes, We do a lot of classes that helps people with their challenges to work on different aspects. For example, a support group that's on Wednesdays, and then there's like a fishing group that they have on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just stuff like that that gets people out of their shell to work on their challenges. So for me, I work here at the Clubhouse as well. I'm a generalist, so I do a lot of the leadership related stuff and trying to make a difference and being an advocate for mental health challenges for other people. So with that being said, I'm going to close up this speech and say thank you to everybody who's come. I'm going to have books for sale in the back, copies of my book, Come Back to Success, and I hope that this was somewhat helpful for you, as well as something to take home and make a difference in your life or into somebody else who you know who might be needing your expertise. So thank you very much, everybody. Awesome. So we're going to go to quick Q&A now. I forgot about that, sorry. So does anybody have any questions that are like picking at your brain right now?
What has been your biggest help along the way? I know your own resilience, you talked a lot about that and really looking for positive outcomes, but outside of, that inner strength that you got, what's been the biggest help for you?
Well, for me personally, my faith in God has been a huge component because of the fact that it's helped me find clarity, because there was times in my recent past when I've struggled with my mental health and I had God by my side, for example, and just like as the years continue to progress, I've learned to be more stronger and closer to God and growing closer because it feels right for me. And it gives me more of a peace of mind in my journey to say that I have somebody my Lord and Savior, who can be protecting me and guiding me along the way. Other than that, just being able to have independence and autonomy. Those are big two things that just come to mind right now, because if I don't have the freedom to do certain things and be who I am, I'm gonna not be able to perform at the level where I can perform. So that's kind of why I decided to move to places like Los Angeles and Seattle, is because I wanted to grow and personally develop myself, and that's where there was more opportunities to be yourself. Even though I did take I made a lot of sacrifices, to be honest with you folks, and I've made sacrifices, but it's made me who I am. And like I said, I have no regrets about my life, because I believe that God made me on purpose and for a purpose.
Absolutely.
Thank you for asking. Yes?
How old were you when you accepted what you had?
Oh, that's a really good question. Probably not till I was like 23. 23-ish, and I'm 27 now. So it's been, but then I was diagnosed at 19. So, and the hard part about something with the diagnosis, like with bipolar disorder, is the fact that the statistics are you live 10 years less than their average person. And so I want to beat that statistic and say to myself, I want to live a long life as well. And that's why I'm making wise decisions and really trying to grow my business in a healthy way. Yes?
Kind of piggyback off of that. What is something that helped you accept your diagnosis?
I think all the experiences that I've gone through and with my mental health, like I'm a hard person. I'm a really hard person to like get down because I've become so used to being in a positive state of mind. But because I was diagnosed at 19, that's a young age, and then I came to an radical acceptance at the age of 23. It's kind of hard to say, but it's like I believe that I don't know how to describe it to you. What was the question again?
Like, what is one thing that helped you accept your diagnosis?
One thing that's helped me accept my diagnosis is having people who support me and accept me regardless of having a diagnosis. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is people who aren't stigmatizing me and viewing me as a not equal to them or things of that nature. That would be my answer. Yes.
How has the Clubhouse helped you actually succeed in your goals or overcome some fears in your life that maybe you can't do alone?
I would say the Clubhouse has been here supportively because of the fact that you have people who are at the simplest form, people who are dealing with other mental health challenges. I can relate to that, and because I can relate to that, I mesh well with most people, and that's why I want to make a difference, and so that's kind of my answer. Yeah. Any more questions?
Do you have a goal that you're hoping to accomplish now?
Yeah, I have a lot of long-term goals, and but I'm working on one thing at a time and recognizing that it's a process to get to these long-term goals, and that one of them is to continue speaking, because I want to make a difference, and I know that when I get on stage, I can make a huge impact to other people. So that would be my answer. Awesome. We're going to wrap it up. So thank you again for everybody for coming, and I appreciate your time and efforts to make it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you.